Game loaded.
Hi, and welcome to Additional Lessons Learned with your host, Rafael Piñero. Before we begin the show, I'd like to give a short shout out to Timpedia, a new Let's Play channel that I discovered about a month ago. It does Deus Ex, Human Revolution Director's Cuts, Let's Play, Star Wars, Mass Effect, and some other games. You should check it out. The link will be below in the description. Now, on to our show. Now, recently I picked up KOTOR 2 after the news last month of a much delayed patch for the game. Now, the game had been patched before in order to complete it, but still, this was an official patch released by Obsidian Entertainment. And therefore I said, well, I'm going to give it a chance, right? Just like I gave a chance to Dragon Age 2 and some other games. But just like Dragon Age 2, this was a sequel. And unlike some other people, I believe that it wasn't as good as the original, which was Knights of the Old Republic by BioWare. Back when BioWare was its own company and did adaptations of D20, Open Gaming License, and D&D games. And I started playing it, right? I was like, oh, it's very much like the original KOTOR, right? And then I realized why I didn't like this game as much as the original. And the reason for that is the prisoner's plot dilemma. Now, you probably heard that term before. I used it when I was talking about storytelling in video games and why I don't like the idea of storytelling in video games. I'm fine with story, but not storytelling. And one of the reasons was the prisoner's plot dilemma. This is a subtrope of cutscene incompetence. And in cutscene incompetence, what happens is that the player essentially loses all their abilities, or ability to reason, ability to act, and essentially gets run over by the story because the story demands it. The prisoner's plot dilemma trope, unlike the prisoner's dilemma trope, which is something completely different, is one where the player character is incapacitated for the purpose of advancing the plot. Usually the player character is captured, shut down, drugged, or otherwise immobilized, and then taken to the appropriate place so that the plot may continue. And usually, but not always, this plot advancement is done via an NPC that describes the setting, explains the plot, or the reason for the existence of one or more characters therein, right? Now, to be fair, the original Knights of the Old Republic did use this trope at least 3 times. And, to be fair as well, I consider that to be 3 times too many, but it was tolerable because these uses were spaced out. It was used in the opening sequence, shortly after. It was used as a major plot reveal, and near the end. But in the case of KOTOR 2, it seems that the game relies almost exclusively on this trope. Time and time again, the player characters are shot down or taken captive. They're imprisoned by local security, they're shut down by local defenses, and just like the original game, the backstory of the main player character also includes being captured by someone or another for whatever reason. But it's used so much in KOTOR 2 that it diminishes and actually makes a mockery of player agency and diminishes the illusion of control. Especially in a game that it would be one of those games that I would dare say is in fact an open world game, or at least an open galaxy game. If you play the original KOTOR, once you get out of the first location, you have an entire map full of planets you can go back and forth and explore. You can do a quest here and then jump to another planet and do this and that in whatever order you think necessary, with some limitations, but not many, except for the aforementioned uses of the prisoner plot dilemma, right? Not so in KOTOR 2. When you get shut down, when you get paralyzed, the game makes sure that you have to complete all the quests in one area before you can leave. And since you basically did most of the quest in that one area, you have very little or no reason to return. thus turning a rather open game into a very formulaic and linear experience. Let me be very clear. The Prisoner's Plot Dilemma is a sign of lazy writing and lazy game design, which means it's a clear sign of bad writing and bad game design. It also means that your story is not compelling enough to encourage the player to follow it if you're relying on this trope. The message is clear. We have to force feed you the plot, and we have to force you as a player to go down the road we selected for you in the manner we selected for you. That means that the plot itself, the characters, etc., they're not strong enough to compel the player to go like, yeah, I want to see what's behind that hill on the other side. I want to know what's happening with this character. I want to figure it out what is the mystery with my character, etc., etc. And that to me makes KOTOR 2, and there are other reasons as well, a clearly an inferior product to the original. In fact, any game that uses this tends to rate lower than otherwise would be, in my estimation. Far Cry 3 abused this trope. Far Cry 4 also abused it as well. And it's something to be avoided. The rule is simple. Once is too many, twice is too much, 3 times you're out. Avoid it like the plague. There is one final caveat, and that is that you can use it sparingly to remind the player of the stakes, and that when they get cocky and they think they have the game won, you go like, you know what, let us reset the difficulty here. But often when you do that, you also tend to introduce new mechanics or new abilities or new weapons as a sort of a reward for going through the pain of having to endure the cutscene. But even then, again, it's something that you do very lightly. Well, that's all for me for now. As always, please comment and subscribe, and I'll see you when I see you. Good night.
Gotta remember how to play this game. Lots of dead people. And... wow, seriously, all this stuff is just on fire. Try to kill you. Oh, hello. Wee pop. Gun arm. Pow. Hey, person.